Let's hear it for the boy. Oh,
Oh, what?
our audio is coming through on the screen.
We should.
Everybody check behind you. Is there any boy anywhere that's waiting to say something?
Camille Badon is right here. He's
That's
not
a
going to say
boy.
anything.
That's
He's
a
in a
boy.
coma.
I thought Camille was a girl's name.
I did.
Don't you dare say that, Johnny. Punch you right in the face.
I saw it happen.
Start an international global
but nobody's
space war with you.
gonna pop
really
out
where all that
and,
stemmed from, isn't
and
it?
talk about
much.
anything religious or presidential. We're good.
No.
No, I think I'm solid. I think I'm
Okay.
good.
You have made it, and we have made it to episode 301 of the Casual Hour. We are here to talk to you about video games, and more importantly, the Video Game Awards. I'm Bobby Pease. Joining me is Chase Kinnicky. Chase, hello.
Hi.
And Johnny Amazich. How are you all?
Doing well. Thank you, Bobby.
No problem. We are going to be telling you all about the games that we've been playing, which is exciting times. There's been some late entries this close to Game of the Year. How dare them?
This is our last show before Game of the Year.
This is it.
Great.
Pencils down. Actually, not. I mean,
Oh God.
I have some games
Pentiment
I'm
down.
going to play. I'm going to play some games on Monday morning before we record our first Game of the Year episode. But it's down to the wire.
We are down to the wire. So we're going to cover some of those late additions tonight. And then we're also going to give just a general overview, some highlights, some lowlights of the Game Awards. We'll talk about what stood out to us, anything that we felt was snubbed, anything we were content with. We're not going to cover everything because there's a lot of people doing that.
Johnny only watched half the show, so we have some stuff to surprise Johnny with.
If he stays pure. If he stays pure. So with that,
I'll stay pure.
you've never been pure. You've never been pure.
I don't believe that.
Let me
I'll
just
believe it for a
close
second.
my Twitter tab here.
Yeah, and your browser, your incognito browsers, close those too.
And I think other than our fun little mention at the top, we're not going to talk about the weird InfoWars kid.
Oh, the fascist? Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
We'll leave him out there. So with that, we got some shit to talk about, and let's get to talking. Chase,
yeah,
what you been playing?
I finished that Norco.
Yeah.
I know. I've been saying I'm going to play that Norco, and I have played that Norco many times. I played the beginning few hours of that game three separate times, but this time I told myself I was going to finish it. I knew I needed to finish it. I have this personal computer here that is fully built and ready to run the hardest games possible, like Norco.
Exactly.
So I played all of Norco over the weekend, and I had a good time.
Nice.
I don't want to spoil some Game of the Year talk.
Yeah,
but I do. You're gonna call me a bummer or downer or whatever, and say that I hate games, and it's not that I hate Norco. I think Norco's fine. I guess I'm surprised that you guys like Norco. It doesn't seem like the kind of game that you guys would enjoy, and I think the game parts of Norco, when it actually has you do stuff, is kind of not the best. I mean, Citizen Sleeper is the other game we talk about when we talk about this, and I think the game part of Citizen Sleeper is much better up to a point, and then it gets broken and isn't interesting anymore. But Norco, I guess I found some of the, like when you're solving puzzles, or when you are there's a part where you have to stack the stuff in the right. I don't know. I just found the kind of gamey stuff in Norco to not be all that fun, and I guess I'm trying to figure out why you guys are latching onto it so much in a way that I don't know if I don't know if I have that deeper appreciation for. I just think it's fine. I think it's a neat, good game.
I was the story and the characters for me.
Yeah, I think
like, it's an adventure game, right? So like, I didn't go into it expecting to have more than like some rudimentary things. Like there's a fight at one point in the game and it's fine. Like you do it and then you move on and you get to the next bit of dialogue. It really was just the writing and the setting and the themes and all the things that it was exploring that I really enjoyed.
I mean, it's like Kentucky Route Zero. Like what makes that like?
You didn't like Kentucky Road Zero.
I didn't care for the pacing of that game. I didn't finish that game. I don't think anybody on the show finished that game.
I finished that game.
I don't. It's just a narrative adventure game. Like I don't quite know what I was expecting from that game, but it exceeded almost every aspect of what I went into it with.
If this hadn't been on Game Pass, would I have picked it up on Steam? Like, no questions asked? No, probably not. But it was on Game Pass, and I saw enough buzz about it online that I was like, okay, I should check this out. And I think Bobby played it before I did. And I don't know, just something struck me whenever I was playing it.
There's a very large amount of people that I've seen cover a wide range of games, and it was interesting to see them latching onto this one as well, based off of what their pedigree and their track record would be. I haven't had a lot with narrative adventure games. Those aren't necessarily like my favorite genre of games. It's a pretty prominent theme this year in video gaming, and I think that this one covered some topics that were pretty close to home for me when it came to relationships and belief, which I think was an interesting thing for me to like put myself in those shoes and kind of reflect on while playing it. I think the writing is really something. We'll talk more about it next week, but I think the writing is way up there.
Okay. Hey, again, I'm not trying to throw shade here, but it is not
I would
be
shocked if you weren't.
It's different than the types of games that
we
would normally
write.
It's one of those situations. It's the butt. It's always the butt that we get, and I embrace the butt now these days. I have to embrace your butt.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was a fine game.
It's a fine game, but it's a fine game, but it's a bad game.
I enjoyed Kentucky Road Zero, and this felt a lot like Kentucky Road Zero. And I know you didn't jive with Kentucky Road Zero as much. I just thought it was odd that you guys were both really liking this one in a way that other games that dealt with similar themes and similar writing quality that you didn't. I just found it odd. I think it's a fine game. I like it.
I think it has some of the same energy as like Night in the Woods, like the circumstance, like not the exact circumstances, but like the type of town they're coming home to, and I don't know, like it really resonated with me in a lot of ways.
For sure.
Okay.
I'm glad that you got through it though, Chase, after starting it 3 times.
Yeah, I am too. And it's not that it was really the game's fault. Well, one of them was a game's fault. I had played the demo version and then it kind of ate my save somehow, and so I had to restart it again, and that was on my Mac, and then the cloud save didn't come over on the PC, so then I just had to play it again. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like I was super far into the game, but I did have to end up playing it 3 times, which is fine. I think the first part of that game is my favorite part of the game, where it's a little bit more grounded, other than the robot companion you have. But I liked that style of writing. I liked the way that game opens before it gets into more of the supernatural stuff in the end. I think there's some very funny stuff in the end. One moment in particular that I know we'll be talking about next week, but I think that game is stronger on the front end, where I think it wears its themes a little bit more on its sleeve, whereas the back half kind of gets into that same what's the game I'm thinking of? The forest. No, the forest ranger one.
Firewatch.
Firewatch.
Thank you. Jesus, why was that slipping my mind? Similar to Firewatch, where I know Firewatch wasn't actually supernatural, but it was playing that it might be supernatural, and that kind of took me out of it a little bit. I really liked the story it was telling before it started to even hint in that direction, and I kind of felt the same way with Norco. I really liked where it was going, and then weird people are trying to go to space, and I thought that was a little weird. But yeah, I think it's a really good game. I think it's a good one of those in a year of good ones of thoses. And it'll be interesting to talk about that game next week in comparison to some of those.
You do know that there's people like in Kansas that are trying to build rockets to go into space to prove that the Earth is flat, right?
Are they all named Garrett too?
There's a guy in Texas that did that too.
Yeah,
sure,
I mean, like I don't think it's as far fetched.
I watched Interstellar. I know what happens.
No,
people
like
do the thing.
That's a movie. I'm saying real life dumb shit.
You don't need to watch Interstellar. It's fine. It's an okay movie.
See, there it is again. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. What is fine?
Okay,
what is fine?
I didn't like Interstellar. I thought Interstellar kind of sucked. What do you want me to say?
There we go. There it is. I love it. Speaking of things that suck, Chase, what's going on with Destiny 2?
Fine. You don't care about Destiny 2. I think it's okay. It's a new season. I think the story stuff they're doing is kind of interesting. They're bringing back Rasputin. He's been away for a while. He got scared by the Witness and the pyramid ships and all the darkness shit. And
so that's the big thing this season is more Rasputin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to wake him up. The Ikelos weapons that were pretty big back in the day are back with new roles. And craftable now, and then there's another new set of weapons that seem cool. There's a new dungeon that we don't know anything about that's coming relatively soon.
What's the big gotcha this season? Like, we're gonna get you back in here. What are they using to get people back in?
Isn't it new subclass?
That's next season.
That's like the big change.
Which was also shown at the Game Awards. We already knew about it, but they showed another trailer at the Game Awards. I think it's just that we're getting ready for Nightfall or Lightfall.
Yeah.
We're getting all of our ducks in a row. At the end of last season, Osiris, who was taken over by Savathun, the Witch Queen, we brought him back to his senses. And he remembered some of Savathun's thoughts while she was in his mind. And one of those thoughts is that there's a hidden city in Neptune, and that's where we're going for Lightfall, is to that hidden city. So I think this is all about finding that city and getting us ready to go there.
What's the light level now?
I think the soft cap is 1580. And then I think it goes up maybe another 10 after that. I'm not sure. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. All the light stuff they've been going like 10 levels higher instead of 50 like they've done in past seasons, before Witch Queen. So you're still plenty leveled for everything out there except for Trials of Osiris.
What's your main line? Are you Titan, Warlock, Hunter?
I'm still Titan, and I never used to be Arc. I thought Arc was the weakest subclass by far. But this last season when they brought in Arc 3.0 and changed the skills and added a bunch of new features, it's become one of my favorite ones to do. The Titan class especially has a lot of mobility. It doesn't have it. You can use the big barricade shield, but you can also just have this little dash. And I find the dash to be really cool, and none of the other subclasses have a little dash. So now I feel like I'm maining Arc, which is weird because that's never been my class. It's always been Solar, and now it's pretty much Arc all the time.
I feel like the last several seasons I've just heard and seen a lot less. I mean, I'm not paying nearly the attention I used to, but it seems like the Hunter kind of ran supreme for a long time. But it feels like Warlock, especially when they first did the Void overhaul, got a lot of love, and then it seems like Titan has always been there, but it seems like Hunter hasn't been as popular from what I've been.
I mean, Hunter has the most people playing as that's for sure. The Hunter class is the most popular one in Destiny 2. In fact, when they do the competition every year between all the classes, they have to weight it in a way that tries to level the playing field because there are just so many people out there who play as Hunter compared to the other classes. But I think they all have little tricks up their sleeves and have interesting things going for them. I'm just pretty happy with Titan, and I don't really see the need to change at this point. I like having the big bulky armor. It's kind of what I like. But I have not really enjoyed Destiny's story for a little while now. But I think this new stuff with Rasputin is pretty cool. I think Rasputin is a more interesting character in there as a supercomputer thing that lived in the old times, lived in the golden age, and is one of those last remnants. So he's got a ton of knowledge in him about protecting humanity, but also that supercomputer failed. Humanity did collapse. Everything went real bad. So he's got some flaws to him, and we're trying to coax him back out into helping us out because he's got some stuff, but he's a little scared of computer right now.
Nice. Well, I'm sure next season will be a big one. I'm wondering what the overall community's reception will be. I've seen some reports that it's dipped down to a pretty low point as far as like concurrent players go.
At the end of last season, it was getting to a real low point. There was just not much in the way of content. Bungie's little event that they did was, hey, there's a week where Telesto is now intentionally breaking. Which kind of funny because the joke with Destiny is that Telesto, this specific weapon that shoots projectiles in a way that is very unique, it usually fucks up the game in many ways when they make changes because it just works in such a unique way. So then they had, hey, what if there's a whole week where each day Telesto functions a little bit differently, and it's weird, isn't it? And it just kind of fell flat. And also it happened at a time where the only thing to really do was play this super high competitive PvP, and with Telesto being broken, it made PvP really shitty that whole week. It seemed like bad timing. It didn't go over well with the community, and there also wasn't that much to do outside of that. And I think they really got to a low point. They definitely got to a low point in terms of player count, but also just sentiment seemed to be kind of down. New season helps to alleviate that a little bit. You get people coming in with the new stuff, and I think the new stuff here is pretty good so far that I've experienced. But I think you have a lot of people who are just kind of waiting for Lightfall and seeing what that is, and if that flops, then I think Destiny's kind of done. But who knows? Yeah. There's also another fucking TV show or movies or other shit in the works, and we've seen how television shows have come out and revitalized video games like Cyberpunk. So
yeah, it's true. I if they do some cool shit, I would maybe be interested in seeing what that looked like.
I don't think anything in here is cool enough to get Bobby Pease to come back and play Destiny 2, and that's fine. And it's probably not enough to keep me playing in like a really focused manner for more than a handful of weeks. But
for sure,
sometimes I just sit down and I go, you know what? I could play Destiny and watch some YouTube videos and kind of have a good time. And it's been a great game for that.
Nice. All right, Chase. So we had credits on Norco and a new season in Destiny 2.
Sorry. I have one other game. I don't have to talk about it very much at all. Butterfly Soup 2. Do you guys remember when I talked about Butterfly Soup years ago on this podcast?
No.
Probably not.
No.
It's a visual novel, a really short game. I think it's made by Brianna Wu. I believe that's right. It was about girls in high school who are exploring their sexuality and also on a baseball team.
Yes. Okay. I remember this.
It was a short little game, short little visual novel, and I thought it just was nicely written and had an interesting story to it. And they made a sequel, and sequel's good. I had a good time with it. Instead of playing as one character, you kind of experience 4 separate stories from the 4 main girls in the cast, and you get a little bit more about them, and it also keeps the story going from the first one. I thought it was good. I liked
awesome.
It. Really, really short, like 3-4 hours, not long at all, and just a nice, easy visual novel, and I knocked it out, and I was happy I did. It was good.
Awesome. Very cool. So we've got credits on Norco, new season of Destiny 2, and a sequel to Butterfly Soup. Chase, the next time we hear from you, we'll be talking about those games of the year.
Oh, that's so scary. There's so many more games I feel like I need to play before Game of the Year time.
One of those you should put a little time in with is Marvel's Midnight Suns, a game we streamed on Monday night. We've got a quick look of it. This is the newest game from Firaxis Games, published by 2K. It is available in 3 different packages, starting from $59.99 going up to $99.99. This is the turn-based tactics game meets deck building meets life sim in a way. You play as a character
from the makers of XCOM, but also way different than
Yes.
XCOM. If you come in thinking, oh, they just put Marvel superheroes in an XCOM game, it's not that, but I think what they're doing is interesting.
Yeah, it's I will just let you know right now, I really like this game. I've found the further I go with it, I've got a good loop. I'm getting some really cool abilities on my characters, and I'm at a point now where I feel like I've got enough tools at the Abbey, which is your sanctuary, your home base, where I can do things like I want to really maximize this move set on Spider-Man. I'm going to craft a few blueprint cards, infuse them into other things, and I also found like you can add a bunch of different things. And it's like I've got a challenge room now, which are really interesting mission types that gets you like you called out the Midnight Sun armor when we were streaming this, Chase. I've got the Midnight Sun armor for your character that you create now, and it comes with kind of a it looks like each hero will get an ultimate ability, and it looks like you also get new abilities when you hit a certain threshold of friendship. So there's some really cool things that you can expand upon on that.
Making those social links.
Yeah, I mean it's really, it is baby's first social links in a way. It's not as punitive as other games that make you manage those, but you definitely are managing those.
It is shocking how much Fire Emblem Three Houses is in this game.
Oh yeah.
How are you liking the story and the writing? Because when I see people, like I've seen mixed things about that. I think is it too MCU? Is it trying too much to be that?
No, I don't think it's trying to be
smart?
MCU. I think that like Tony, the person who's voicing Tony Stark, is absolutely doing their best Robert Downey Jr. impression. But for the most part, I just hit like a point that I thought was like actually pretty cool and well done. The story's been middling. It's been fine. It's not what I'm like.
Not what you're there for.
Not what I'm there for. But you just got where I'm at in the story. There was a distress call for somebody that is very well known, and the location that this battle takes place is really cool. And there's a bunch of things that are happening in the environment that you're fighting in that are happening each turn based off of where you're at. And it's not a huge, like, it's not a huge spot, but it's a really cool way. And like, that's the thing too, is like a lot of the battling is very tight knit, high combos, a lot of area effect stuff that is going to, when you do your first attack, it's going to expand out a ring that then can encapsulate other folks that you would be going to do more damage to.
I think there's a real interesting conversation going on between this game and Mario plus Rabbids, because in some ways they have a lot of similarities, where you have like a lot of different moves you can do with characters within a single turn, and but kind of where Mario plus Rabbids lets you do multiple things a turn with multiple different characters, where you can do a slide and you can do a shot and you can do like some kind of free action, whether it's going into Overwatch or using some power-up item or something. Marvel's Midnight Sun says you get 3 card plays and you get a move, one move for all 3 characters. Like, not each character gets a move, you get one move for all 3 of those characters. You have to pick which one gets the move, but also the cards that you play can move characters in some way. It seems like there's a lot of freedom to the combat, and yet also in a very limited amount of, there's a lot of things you can do in those 4 actions, but you only get 4 actions per turn.
There's a little bit more you do get. So one of the things that you didn't call out was the heroism, which builds with your abilities. Some of the abilities you use, it's a currency or a skill set that you're building up. It can go up to 10. And a lot of moves are going to net you 1 to 2 heroic abilities. So they call them heroism. That is going to allow you to do environmental attacks. So in every environment you're in, there are metal boxes, there's cans you can kick, poles you can knock over, dumpsters. Yeah. And they do some pretty big damage. And as you're working through these abilities, you're building up that gauge that once you deplete what Chase called out, the 3 move or the 3 card plays, you can then do environmental attacks. They will move your character around, but you do have the ability to move your character. If you start to move your character before any hero cards are played, you can move that one character as much as you want. But once you move them and a hero card's played, they are planted there. Now, I will call out something that Chase hasn't seen yet on stream or in the quick look is you end up getting these consumable cards that you can take into battle. So if you hold down the space bar, it opens up this wheel of consumable things that you can bring in. And Mario and Rabbids has this as well, like the POW button. It has like the health that you can take. You can add more moves in. Some of those cards are like going to grant you more moves per turn. Some of those cards is going to absolutely like it's going to increase. Hey, here's 4 heroism points that you just get from eating this card in battle. So you can start to build those out using some of the currencies that you get from winning back at the Abbey. And those things are helpful. The other thing too, Chase, is I was able to upgrade some of the ability cards. So like one of them is like, hey, if you get a KO with this card, you get an extra move this turn. So little things like that starts to give you a little bit more. It's not nearly as generous or front loaded, which I really like about Mario and Rabbids. This one has, I mean, I'm like 12 hours into the game and I'm just now getting some of these things unlocked. So it's a slow drip. I've heard this game is anywhere from 60 to 90 hours long, by the way.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
honestly, like that's not a value judgment of Mario plus Rabbids versus
Totally.
versus Marvel Midnight Suns, because they're very different. Like
Yeah.
Marvel's Midnight Suns, you have this limited amount of things that you can do per turn, but also the arenas are so much smaller compared to something like Mario plus Rabbids that are these bigger, sprawling levels that have different heights to them. So you do need, I need to be able to move and slide and jump on this character so I can propel her over to this other section. And then I need to be able to have this character be able to slide and jump through this thing to get to that character so then they can jump off that character and then go even further. Like the Mario plus Rabbids has a big space because it wants you to explore that big space. And Midnight Suns feels like we have a much more limited area and we want you to really strategize and theorize what you can do within that smaller area. I think it's a little weird thematically for superheroes like Spider-Man or Iron Man who can just blitz around wherever the hell they want to feel like they're cramped into this limited tiny space. But in terms of just the strategic value of it, it seems like a system that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I'm no person to shy away from a fight in a tight space, so I don't mind it that much at all to have a smaller.
Sure, absolutely.
But one of the other things I'll call out briefly here is I've really been looking at how to synergize. So you have teams of 3 that go out. There are always going to be a story mission available, and every story mission you have to bring your character, which is named Hunter. But if you do some of these side missions, you can build whatever 3 people you'd like to come. They have more or less an attack class, a support class, and a tank class when it comes to these characters. And I'm really starting to find my footing in how I set those decks up because there is even some combo cards. It's like Captain Marvel, and I just got Captain America. So the 2 captains are very tanky. And every single one of Cap's attacks has a taunt to it, which is awesome. Because I can send him out and just start taunting people into him. And then I've got a support class character that will continually buff him up while I'll bring somebody like Blade in who can start to just, like I've gotten to a point now with him, Chase, because I keep calling Chase out because he and I have been playing this game together. He has already great attacks. He has that ability that he can start to apply bleed. He gets another attack buff where if they have bleed on it, you add even more damage to them. So he can start
and he also has some chaining abilities too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
even though you're only playing 1 card, he actually attacks 3 separate times. And if that stuff also is stacking bleed as he's doing that, you can get to some cool combos. I do wonder, Bobby, have you felt like you talked about having 3 different classes of kinds of heroes in there? Have you ever felt like you brought in a team of heroes and you went, the strategy's not going to work here. These characters don't actually work very well together. I need to bring in different heroes.
Yeah, the game will auto level up your heroes that you don't bring into battle. Not to the so if I played with the same 3 people, they're usually going to be about 2 levels ahead of everybody else. That gets them better stats in game, of course. So on some of those other missions, I'm like, I want to level up people and just kind of see what, because like there's some characters like Magic. I didn't really know Magic before this game. I did not pick Magic right away because I was going with people that I knew would probably act a certain way. Magic has become one of my favorite characters in the game, so I've been trying to play catch up there. But Magic, I didn't have some of the synergy cards there, and I was like, I want to bring you into this battle to get you where you need to be, but you're really fucking up my flow. And now I'm getting to a point where I can do like that. I showed you Magic, I'm pretty sure, her portal.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one upgraded now where every time she creates a free portal, she gets a free additional move.
Oh, that's cool.
And so like that's really fucking slick because she makes these portals, Johnny, that it almost acts like the game portal where the knockback ability. So if I create a portal that will be facing an environmental thing like an electrical box, regardless of where another person is, if she hits it, before she hits them with knockback, she opens the portal behind them, knocks them into that portal, and they fly through the other one and hit it. It's really fucking cool. So she's got some cool stuff. It's also, if you are a fan of X-Men, Magic is the little sister to Colossus. And so she's very cool. Anyway,
they do have some. There's also a system in there where yes, you could keep bringing in the same 3 heroes every time if you wanted to, but there is some incentive to bringing people who are what they call well rested, where you know there are some buffs that characters get for not having been used for a while that might convince you, hey, maybe I'll let Iron Man sit out this one and bring in Magic instead, or bring in Hunter instead, where maybe I wouldn't normally use him, but this
the way that they do those,
to bring him in now.
The side missions are also, they lock in a hero. So like, hey, this is a Captain Marvel side missions. That means you have to have Captain Marvel, but you'll get 2 other characters. So what I've been doing, and I didn't do this on the quick look, it's something that's helped me out now, is I'll look at the war table first and see who's available. And then when I go to do like my daily sparring, which gives somebody a buff, I'll be like, okay, I know I'm going to do that mission with Captain Marvel. I'm going to fight with Captain Marvel, give them a buff before battle, take them in, and just add some stuff in there with it. I'm really digging it. It's crazy because, I mean, you call out Mario and Rabbids. That didn't come out that long ago compared to this. Both are doing some really clever new things, in my opinion, in this turn-based genre, which I will just say I'm here for. Like, I want to see more innovation in that genre. I love what's going on with it. So last year fell really hard for understanding deck engines with fights in tight spaces and doing the drafts with that and really building out things. And like that made me fall in love with Into the Breach, which I missed out on. And now I'm a big fan of that game. Mario and Rabbids became one of my favorite Switch games. And this new version of that game builds on everything in a great way.
Yeah.
And now we did XCOM together, Chase and I, on a series for our Casual Monday streams. Here I am. Yeah, it was it went really well. I'm looking at Firaxis now with Midnight Suns, and they've done some really cool stuff with like even the relationship pieces of it. I'm just here to basically stand for turn-based tactic games are pretty all right.
Hell yeah. And Fire Emblem coming down the pipe for next month.
Yeah.
Before you move on to your next game, I need to know how many times has Wolverine said bub or called someone bub?
So I'm gonna get into a little spoiler territory, if that's okay. Is that all right?
Sure.
You don't start with Wolverine.
Right.
I knew that.
You get attacked by somebody that Wolverine fights a whole lot, and he shows up and he drops a good bub when that happens, and it was really fucking good. Wolverine is broken.
Is it Sabretooth?
It is.
Okay. I mean,
that's gonna be my guess too.
Who else could it have been?
And I told Johnny this earlier. The first suit Wolverine shows up in is my favorite. It's the brown and orange suit.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And Sabretooth has the big, huge fur collar. He just looks fucking awesome. But because Wolverine heals, when he starts to do chain attacks, each attack he hits is a life steal as well.
That's cool.
And so he that's how you get that mechanic for him.
Not to get too spoilery, but like about how long do you think it takes to get to Wolverine? Because both the quick look and the stream, you didn't have them at that point, and you had like 7 or so characters. You had a pretty solid stable at that point already.
Yeah, you get a mission with him, and he runs to chase down Sabretooth, and so you don't get him right after that mission. The next mission is where you meet Captain America, and there's some shit going down. So I think I mean I'm 12 hours in. I'd say it's probably like 10 hours when I met Wolverine, maybe, give or take.
Okay. And they've announced DLC. They've shown DLC stuff. Like Venom is an enemy in this game, but also Venom is going to be a DLC character that you'll eventually get.
I think he's the first one you get.
Okay.
Really quick, give me 1 second before we move on.
Was Storm one of them, maybe?
I think Storm was
always one of my favorite X-Men.
I think she would do really well in here. Give me 1 second, guys. So all playable characters and confirmed DLC. Do you want to know who they are? The 4?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Deadpool, Morbius.
Yeah. Now we're fucking talking. Morbin time, bitch.
Storm.
God damn it.
And Venom. So also I know I think you get the Hulk as well. Yeah. So really cool. It's very cool.
Hulk's not DLC. Hulk you just get in the main game. Yep. Okay.
We're going to talk about Need for Speed Unbound. I'm going to let Johnny lead in with that because he's put more time into it. 2 things I'll say before I pass it to Johnny. We've been trying to play Warhammer 40K. We've got
trying being the key word there.
We've got a quick look that we'll be putting out. We tried to stream it. It's a really cool game. It's a really big mess. So we're going to keep an eye on that one and revisit it in 2023 when they've patched it out. Johnny, I would love for you. Oh, go ahead, Chase.
Well, speaking of crashes, I forgot to mention, but Destiny 2 has crashed on me twice since the new season started, really? Which is 2 more times than Destiny's crashed in maybe like the last 2 years I played Destiny.
Yeah,
so
it's always been.
I was in the middle of a Gambit match, which I wasn't having that much fun if I was playing Gambit, and then the game crashes, so I didn't even get the progress for it, and I went, man, fuck that, and then I just stopped playing. So
there you go.
I wish Gambit was in Midnight Suns.
It honestly kind of did. I had other stuff I should have been doing at the time, and it's like, I restarted the PS5. I got to the start screen. I'm like, all right, let's get back into it. And then I just kind of took a beat, and I went, you don't have to do this. You could do the things that you're supposed to do today. And then I put the controller down, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
I don't mind that we have the Avengers and other Marvel characters, but I would have been probably even more into this game if it just would have been an X-Men game.
Yep.
So I think that would have been awesome.
Man.
Yep.
Anyway, Johnny, I want you to talk about Need for Speed Unbound. What I will tell you right now is, I'm just going to say it and hand it over to you. This is maybe my favorite racing game I've played since Burnout Paradise.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't go that far with it for me personally. But it is the best pure arcade. Actually, I guess if we're talking like pure arcade, then yes, it's the most fun I've had with one of those in a very, very long time. This kind of just, I don't want to say they shadow dropped it, but there's been little to no fanfare. Like they announced it.
It was out
6
weeks. Yeah. 6 weeks from announcement, which kind of leaked. Then they showed a video for it, and now we have it.
But also they had like the date was supposed to be December 2nd or something, and then they just like on November 30th, they're like, we don't care, it's out, whatever. And so only a few days, but that is kind of a stealth drop.
It's kind of weird. So I haven't played a Need for Speed game since I don't know when. Probably like the PS. It's been a long time.
The Hot Pursuit reboot was the one for me. That was, I think, that was the first one Criterion worked on when they got switched out from Burnout to Need for Speed.
Yeah. So if you are unfamiliar, this is the latest entry in the long-running Need for Speed series. and it has a very different style than what they've put in old games. So there's cell shaded characters, but you still have your realistic looking vehicles. But then you have these different effects that pop up on your vehicle, like when you burn out, or if you hit a big jump or drift. It's more of that cell shaded, kind of cartoony looking stuff, and
graffiti kind of stuff, almost like
yeah,
it's got even like a Jet Set Radio look to it a little bit. Yeah,
yeah, it's like Jet Set. It's hard to pin down. It has lots of different influences. I feel like it's pulling from, and you can even change like the icons and stuff that appear over your car when certain things happen, or the color
I think you
of the
mean change your
smoke.
crown.
Your crown. Sorry.
I just think that's fun that they gave it a specific name.
Yeah. And it's different than the most of the other racing games I played in the last few years, because those have all been mainly Forza Horizon, where you have, relatively speaking, like a pretty limited amount of stuff to accomplish on the map. Like there are like jumps, and there's things that you can find on the map. There's these giant inflatable bears that you can find in different areas, and gas stations,
billboards. If you liked your Burnout Paradise billboards,
Yes.
billboards make a return.
Those are there for you. But in terms of races, it's just like a handful, and it goes on a day-night cycle. And as you race, you're earning heat, and the higher your heat is, the more cops will pursue you, and the more vehicles will come after you, and the more difficult it is to get away from them. I've only lost my money twice.
What's the most you've had chasing you? How high have you gotten your heat?
Oh, I've had like 5 police cars and a helicopter chasing after me.
Yeah, that got fucking spicy. No pun intended with the heat. It got real spicy. It was rough.
Because like old Need for Speed games, they've had like the first you get cops chasing you, and then I think they might even throw out some spike traps or something.
That's here.
Roadblocks, yeah.
And then you get like the helicopter, and then the helicopter, at least in Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, which is a long time ago. It's an original Xbox game. But they like the helicopter would start dropping explosive barrels that you can hit.
I haven't encountered that yet.
Yeah, I think they might have taken that out for later entries, but
and like the story's fine, it's whatever. But the racing, the driving, is so much fun, and it is really challenging. Like
it's a hard game.
You are not expected to win.
Yeah.
What would you compare the driving experience to? Does it feel like you're playing Burnout, or does it feel?
It feels like if you do not hit off the line with, because it also has like the throttling where you need to be at a certain RPM to get off the gate.
Sure.
If you start off behind at a certain point, if you have a rough start, you're like, the probability of you getting to first place is highly unlikely. And if you make one error, like if you have a wreck in a race, like you're gonna finish that race in like the bottom 3 positions. Like
there's no rewind in this, right?
No, there's no rewind.
That seems like a wild decision in 2022, but I kind of respect it.
Yeah, well, you even have a limited number of restarts.
That's tied to day cycle, like each day. Yep. So like each day you have
get so many restarts. Yeah. But that's like, it's not like per race you get this number. It's like for the whole day you get 5.
The one thing that they do that sorry, John, I did not mean to jump in here on you like that. As you get to a point in the game, they give you like, hey, here's how we predict this race is going to go. You're going to finish 6th, and you can bet against anybody. So like, if there's somebody that you're like, you know what, I'm going to finish above them. Well, now not only are you, because that costs money, and like the pools at the beginning of the game aren't huge, but as you're racing, if that person is in front of you, they highlight their name, and if they're behind you, they highlight their name in a different way as well to let you know, this is the person that you're competing against that you made a bet with. And you kind of build this rivalship, because like when you start, like you can see the overview, and it'll show you who your rival is when you're starting the race.
Yeah, it's not exactly the nemesis system, but it is, hey, you have a rival who has a name, who has a specific look, who is absolutely a douchebag because all of them look like douchebags in the best way.
There's some other cool mechanics that play with the racing, and Johnny, like, I don't know how much you've leaned into it, but you've got drifting, you've got the nitrous boost on it, you've got the handbrake, and I don't do it every single time. I've gotten much better at it, but you can combo things into one another, even outside of, like, there's events that are going to be like, this is a drift mode event, you're going to need to get like the highest score for doing tricks and shit, but you can be in a drift, and if you like time it, you kind of pop with the nitrous at the same time, and you almost get like a secondary boost out of it, which is really fucking well done.
There's like a tap nitrous mechanic to it. Like, yes, you can hold it and just blaze it, but you can also
you're earning that by drifting and getting no misses, and it's another bar that fills up next to the nitrous boost.
Not the depletion of it, but like the hype of it almost.
Yep. And I kind of struggled with the game at first, and I realized it's because I was trying to play this like I would play Forza. I wasn't playing this like an arcade racer. And once I changed the way I was driving and approaching the races, I started doing a lot better. Like, as far as like going into corners, because like I can tap the e-brake, swing out, and then boost, and it's like I make that hairpin turn without losing a lot of speed.
I want to call out the DualSense controller for that also. And if you got anything to add there, please do. But playing this on PS5 with the DualSense 5, they do some really great things on like gear shifting. Tapping on your acceleration finger feels really good. The taptic and haptic engine in that controller with nitrous, with the drifting, all that stuff, you get a nice
really well,
like almost like a physical cue of what you're doing from your hands, just the way on the controller's making movement, like, which I think is really helpful on just like getting those types of sensory cues on what you're doing.
And I appreciate what like a slow, steady drip because it feels, the whole thing is like you have this car you fixed up with a friend of yours who betrays you, and then a couple of years later you find out they're back on the street racing scene and they have your car
with your car.
And so you have to get to these qualifiers at the end of each week with, you have to have a set amount of cash, and I'm still just in the second week right now. But once that first week almost feels like an extended tutorial mode.
Yeah.
Because once you get into the second week, you start getting a lot more cash. By that point, you've won at least 2 more vehicles. And I found
how is the vehicle selection? Do you feel like there's a lot of good cars in there?
Yeah. For sure.
I mean, you're not getting like a Forza or a Gran Turismo selection of cars, but you feel like there's
it's a couple.
The cars that you would want to see in this are there. Like, like I'm currently driving what I consider to be like one of the most, and think this is Fast and the Furious, but it was Paul Rudd's Eclipse, and it's a 99 Mitsubishi Eclipse, one of the most iconic street racing cars. Not Paul Rudd.
Paul
my
Walker?
God. Paul Rudd.
I wish
it was Paul Rudd
was in the Fast and Furious.
I wish it was. I wish it was as well.
You got your American muscle cars in there too, your Corvettes and your Mustangs and that kind of stuff.
I've got a Buick right now. That's my main.
This motherfucker's driving a Buick. You hear him? He's got a Buick.
It is. Even though it's a different art style from previous Need for Speed games, it kind of feels like it's saying, okay, let's take some Hot Pursuit attitude, let's take some Underground attitude, let's bring in some of these other more well-liked Need for Speed games of the past, and let's find a way to put a new little twist on it, which is this kind of new Unbound art style. It seems like it's working for it. I wish this game came out in like June or July instead of at the end of November, beginning of December. I just don't have time to fit this in. I feel like I would enjoy this, so I had a chance.
Yeah, it was definitely an impulse buy for me. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, let's give this a shot after I saw a couple of videos on it. and it's completely subverted. I had no expectations, so there was none there to subvert, but it's just blown me away, and it's like one of my favorite racing games I played in the last few years.
That's awesome.
That's great.
And I think Chase absolutely should pick this up at some point. I'm sure it will go on sale. It looks fantastic. It runs 4K, 60 frames a second. I'm sure it looks amazing on PC. I picked it up on PlayStation.
Yeah. Hearing how it works with the DualSense and hearing that from you, Bobby, that makes me pretty excited. I think it is something that, at this point, knowing that it's not going to end up being something I can get to before Game of the Year, I think I probably will just end up waiting for a sale and then grabbing it then. But pretty excited.
Last thing I'll call out, I like the world a lot. It's like Chicago, but also there's some mountains there.
The mountains of Chicago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
And
you can go from Lower Wacker Drive to the mountains.
Yeah, I'm way into it. And speaking of games that's a bad segue. This next game,
it's better now.
I think is neat. I think it does some cool things, but I am not as into it.
What? Oh, there's always a butt with you, Johnny.
See?
Jesus.
The butt from Chase. See, his butt's rubbing off on us. He's rubbing his butt all over us.
That would be the Callisto Protocol, and we can get through this to get to the game that I really want to talk about with you guys. So Callisto is from what's that
developers, right?
No, Striking Distance Studios, and it's made by a lot of people who worked on Dead Space. And that is very apparent if you've seen any of the media for this game. It is absolutely just different Dead Space, and
it does have some PUBG roots though. Like at one point it was in the PUBG. Is it just
it was that's
published
no
by Blue whatever the fuck they're called?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Blooper, it's Blooper Team.
Blooper Team.
Yeah, but that's not.
Just kidding.
Okay.
So this game I split on PS5 with one of my friend who I do game sharing with. I know that the PC version came in real hot, and it sounds like they've patched it since then to make it a little bit better.
It had a clinical error.
Yeah,
clerical error.
There's something wrong with the patch they put out, and then the Xbox Series X version sounds like it's not incredible either. But then I learned a bunch of Sony devs worked on it, so hey, no wonder the PS5 version is the one that works the smoothest. So, I like the atmosphere of this game. It's incredible. It's such a cool sci-fi setting.
Have you gotten ground up by a wind turbine yet?
Not yet. I think that's the next place I'm going, is where all the turbines are.
Cool.
I think the combat in this game is frustrating at best and mediocre at worst.
That's kind of what I've been hearing. Is that it's a little odd. It's a little fumbly. Go ahead.
It's a dodge system, but rather than having like a dedicated dodge button, you have to push left or right on the joystick. And when I'm in a tense situation like that, I don't want to have to play fucking Simon to remember. Like, it sounds like a simple thing in theory, but in practice, it's like, if I see this swing coming from this direction, well, I'm going to lean this way to get it. It's
not the thing that you want to have to think about.
How to roll.
Yeah, and it's just, I keep getting killed when in situations where, like, if I just had a button I could push that just dodged, then I'd be fine. And it's very, very melee focused. And when you start, like, it's just, some of these monsters take for fucking ever to kill. And it sounds like you do get upgrades and eventually you get a spacesuit, and like, because you also have an extremely limited inventory. It's like 6 slots, and that's for health, that's for ammo, that's for everything. Like, it's very restrictive in a way that, like, I hate inventory management in games more than anything.
Yeah.
Just about in games that
it can be fun sometimes. I don't really love Resident Evil games in general because I'm a little baby, but I like the idea of, hey, this is your slots and you have to Tetris your equipment in here. I hate when you get to something like Bethesda and it's a fucking encumbrance system where
Ugh.
I now have to get under a weight limit.
It's the worst system in games.
I know you
all
like
these cheese wheels.
I know you like Dark Souls, but that's another thing with me is like having different weights on your equipment and having different rules because of it. I like the idea mechanically, but I do not like it in practice. It just isn't fun for me to play.
Well, Chase, you just have to get Havel's ring, and then that doubles your. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd say this game is a solid 7. I think that the scores it received are pretty fair. I like some of the more negative ones. I don't know, because I'm enjoying enough of the other things that it's doing that it pulled me forward a little bit. I think I got a couple hours into it, and it just made me more excited for that Dead Space remake because I decided, Johnny, you love horror. Stephen King is your second favorite author, and you love horror movies. You love horror books.
Who's your first?
Probably Tolkien.
Okay. Just making sure.
And yeah, like I feel like wherever baggage remains from when I was a kid, and I watched my cousins play through Resident Evil 2, and it just fucked me up. And then I saw Scream when I was in 3rd grade, and it fucked me up for a long time. So I feel like 2023 is the year that Johnny gets into horror games. Maybe we'll see.
Well, we have a whole show about video game resolutions, and we'll get to that. But as much as I don't like horror games because the aforementioned, I'm a little baby about it. I think that's a noble goal of yours, and I support it 100%.
Cool. Thank you. Finally, guys, what do you think about dwarves?
I like Rock and Stone.
Fan. Too short.
Too short. Okay. All right. Okay. What's the level of familiarity in the group here with Dwarf Fortress? Non-existent?
I know it's been talked about for a long time. I know that it was being overhauled to not be quite the sicko game that it was, a prettier sicko game. But
I know it used to not have graphics at all.
It was an ASCII.
Yeah, and then I also know that it's like a big game in like an emergent gameplay sense where it seems like so many things have been programmed into this, and the interactions that can come out of it just make for some interesting emergent gameplay. I was reading some tweet that somebody was talking about Dwarf Fortress recently about like some dog that miraculously beyond all reason kept getting up and attacking this bear when it, like by all rights, it should have just been murdered the first chance it had, but it just, but also while it was apparently latched onto the bear's neck, it had a litter of puppies because the game allows for that shit.
Yep.
I know that the devs had to change the price of mermaid bones at one point because
people were just murdering mermaids and selling their bones. Yeah.
It seems like a game with a lot of interesting interactions. It seems kind of like an ant farm almost of a game of you just kind of let it run and you see the weird shit that can happen out of it.
Yeah, because you have no direct control over these dwarves. You can.
When do you ever?
That's a fair point, Bobby.
You can't control a dwarf. I've tried.
You can't.
Yeah. So if
no matter how many fortresses you put them in, you can't control them.
Dwarf Fortress is a game that has been in active development for over 20 years. And as those
why are the graphics still so bad?
The graphics
20 years.
Well, they just started working on the graphics.
I'm absolutely so much kidding.
I know. It's developed by Kit Fox Bay 12. Sorry, Kit Fox is the developers who are publishers.
You know, Kit Fox of Boyfriend Dungeon fame.
Boyfriend Dungeon, absolutely.
Yeah. But this is a game that primarily has been developed by two brothers, Tarn and what's the other guy's name? I just looked it up.
If one's named Tarn, I can't wait for the other name.
It's like Dave or something like that.
What? Well, you can't have a brother named Tarn and then the other one is just Dave. That's just some guy.
Zach. Tarn and Zach Adams.
Okay, Zach's a pretty good name.
And as you guys mentioned, like it ran with ASCII graphics, which if you don't know is like text basically. And it did not have mouse support. It was all keyboard based. And for years, like I think if I first learned about this game in high school, or shortly thereafter, and it's one of those things, kind of like Eve, like you hear about it, and you're like, this sounds fascinating. And I downloaded it earlier this year, and I messed around with it for like an hour, and I was like, this ain't it, Chief. I can't do this. I'm a sick man, but I'm not willing to do what it takes to get into this. And then I've had the Steam version, which they're calling 1.0. So this is a 2022 release. Came out with graphics. I've had it wishlisted since it was added to the store, and I put about 4 hours into it. And this game is as cool as I hoped it would be.
That's awesome.
And there is so much there.
It's a lot, dude.
It's a lot. And so what I've learned from some of the videos I've watched, some of like seeing the community talk about it, is like you should just set a goal for yourself and see if you can accomplish that goal. And like it's through playing the game and like interact, because all these dwarves have their own personalities, and you can go and see like their thoughts.
They're people too, Johnny. Jesus Christ.
They have skills.
It seems like it's going to be your new Crusader Kings.
Yes.
It could be. Yeah. Like it just has layer upon layer upon layer of like what you can do. Like
I don't know if this one's going to be for me.
That's fine. Like I don't think this is for
Sure. I'm very excited for
sure the one I'm most excited about for you is going to get here in time.
Okay.
Because it had like a
We can't hear
delivery.
you, Bobby, if you can hear us. Okay.
It had a delivery range of like November or December 15th through January 2nd or something like that.
Can you hear me?
I think I hear you, and I think the stream also hears Johnny at least, and me.
Okay, cool.
And Chase.
Well, let me get us back live then. We can start talking about
Bobby.
Dwarf Fortress again. Hang on, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. We had the damnedest thing there with the audio. That was weird, but I think all systems are working. So
cool.
We're back at it. Johnny, you were saying
talk about the dwarves.
Yeah, I am endlessly fascinated by this. And it's cool when the thing that you've been waiting a long time for comes out and strikes in the way that you were hoping it would. And I feel like I've barely even I've barely struck the earth, as they say.
Oh, nice.
In Dwarf Fortress. And the thing I'm trying to keep in mind that I keep seeing people in the community say is like failing is fun. Like that's how you learn the game, is by failing, and like an aquifer floods your
and that's where the best stories come from.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to have some failure in there because it makes things interesting. If it's, oh, my dwarves built an impenetrable fortress and totally destroyed everything else, then like that's not much of a story.
And it's a whole world. So there's other civilization, there's elves, there's monsters, like it's this crazy fantasy world. And yeah,
Is there an ability to just let it go and let it play itself, or do you have to have some input?
You control like what gets mined. You have to build all the crafting stations, and you can mark specific areas for zones. So there's like, this is a meeting area that you can convert into a tavern. You can assign dwarves different roles within the community. Like there's one that's a manager that just goes around, like you tell him, hey, I need 10 stone tables, and he goes and finds a dwarf to do that for you.
Is that like a command line prompt, or are you dragging stuff?
This is all user interface. So there's a hotbar in the bottom with menus inside of them, and it does have a tutorial that goes over the very, very basics and is helpful. But I've gone back and I've watched like actual Dwarf Fortress YouTubers who have made videos for the Steam version. And Bay 12 themselves and Kit Fox have put out some videos as well. And it's just really cool, man. It's a very cool game. I know it's not going to be for everybody.
It seems like Fortnite for real fucking nerds. Like here's the forever game for you deep dark motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Instead of here's the forever game for literally everybody in the world.
And these guys have been putting this out for free the whole time. They've been living on donations, and I haven't checked it as the days gone by, but yesterday and earlier today, it was the top selling game on Steam. So I think like these guys are finally, like, this game is in MoMA at the Museum of Modern Art in their video game exhibit. Like we wouldn't have RimWorld, Minecraft. Like there's so many games like that came out that were inspired by and influenced by this game. So it's cool to see it finally getting the recognition that it deserves. And there's someone in the discussions on Steam saying like, you guys really willing, like you paying $30 for something you can get for free, and it's just like over 100 pages of people just saying yes. Like it's great. The community seems awesome. And I'm going to be spending some more time with it. But let's talk Game Awards. I missed some stuff. So
you did.
Well, before we get to that, why don't we talk about maybe since you were away for the back half of this where the wild shit happened. I know Chase was taking some notes. What stood out to you before you broke away, Johnny? What was the highlight for you?
Fucking Al Pacino was there for some reason.
Because he's an actor, and there's actors in video games.
I was really happy for Christopher Judge. However, that speech was entirely too long.
By the way, he just tweeted, and he's like, "They cut me off before I could finish, but he's like, I didn't get a chance to thank my wife. And I'm not saying that dude's in hot water, but as a married man, the fact that you were up there for that long and you didn't mention your wife, you know, when he sat back down, there was a very cold seat. But congrats nonetheless.
I think we finally saw Ghost Story Games. What the fuck they've been working on since 2012
Judas,
is when
right?
BioShock Infinite came out. Yeah, and then that whole team was dissolved, and then Kim Levine formed a new team, and it sounds like maybe he's not the best person to work for, which is unfortunate. I'm so excited for Death Stranding 2. Like I turned around completely on that game when I played it again last year. I'm here for it. Mr. Kojima, take me back on your wild ride. It looks as dumb and out there as the first one.
Yep.
And what else? Those are probably
what's the last thing you remember seeing?
I'm trying to think. Was it a performance or something?
I don't know. You tell us. It's what we're asking you.
I don't remember exactly. I think I left in the middle of a ad or something like that.
Okay. Oh, did you leave like in the middle of the Forspoken ad maybe or something like that?
No, he downloaded that.
Okay. That's fine. We have a general idea of where you stopped off at.
I think
we're not going to spend a ton of time on like who won what, because like we have our own awards show that we do here, but like we'll definitely do some highlight stuff.
Better awards too.
Better awards.
These
are the ones that really deserve.
I'm here more for the announcements. And
I mean, if we want to get real quick with it, it was the God of War show for pretty much every moment of the show until the very end, and then it was the Elden Ring show.
No, there was still God of War because it was about the boy.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. God of War had like 6 awards. We talked about Christopher Judge, but they also got audio design and narrative and whatever the fuck. Like they got all the awards except for the ones that mattered, it seemed, because best game direction and game of the year went to Elden Ring. That cleaned up on the big ones. Also best RPG was Elden Ring as well.
Yeah, they had some big swings there for sure.
Yep. Stray won a couple times for best debut indie and then like best indie general, I guess. But yeah, like it was an award show. It was fine. They gave some awards out. We're gonna disagree with them inherently. I guess you guys like God of War and Elden Ring, so maybe you wouldn't disagree completely, but we will have our own awards that we will do next week, and we'll have some stuff to show that. Those are the ones that matter, of course.
Johnny, some things that you missed. One thing in particular, there was DLC shown off for Horizon Forbidden West. It's called The Burning Shores. It takes place in Hollywood, California. It looks pretty fucking wild from what we saw. It looks like more of Horizon Forbidden West.
I don't know if I want that.
There's
so much of the game that I did not play.
It is coming out April 19th, so it will be right in the thick of everything else again. But yeah, that is something that you missed out on. Watch that trailer. It looks cool.
Johnny, another thing you missed, if you liked the Al Pacino segment of the Game Awards, have I got news for you? There was even a more decrepit actor who showed up, and it was Michael Madsen.
Oh god. Oh my god.
Who I love Michael Madsen.
Yeah,
dude kind of looked like death as he kind of got helped on the stage by 2 guys who were much bigger than he was. But he is the star of Crime Boss Rockay City, which is a new game they showed off at the Game Awards, which is an upcoming stealth action FPS where players work to become leaders of a criminal underworld set in a fictional version of 90s Florida. It is coming out March 28th, 2023. Let me read off some people who are in this game. Johnny, Michael Madsen is in the leading role as Travis Baker, not Travis Barker.
Travis Barker.
Yes, he's the drummer.
Danny Glover is in this game as a character named Gloves.
Oh my god.
Danny Trejo is in this game as a character named The Dragon. Vanilla Ice is in this game.
Get out of here.
Michael Roker.
Michael Rooker is in this game. And Chuck motherfucking Norris is in this game.
Dude, you after the show, you were watching that trailer.
It's insane.
You know what? It looks good. It looks good. Yeah.
I fucking hate Chuck Norris.
I also hate Chuck Norris. I like the memes. I hate the man. Also, Chuck Norris is a sheriff, because what else would he be in this? Some kind of rangery looking guy. And he's got the name Norris on a badge on his vest. So he will probably just be like, this game seems extremely tongue in cheek with what it's kind of doing.
Is he going to tell a kid they have AIDS? Walker told me I have AIDS.
I bet he roundhouse kicked somebody. Do you think he'll kick
I think
somebody?
so.
Yeah.
Can he roundhouse himself in the face so he shuts
just
up?
An absolute wild. Kim Basinger. Yeah. She's in this game.
What's a star-studded cast?
It's an incredible cast for a game that looks like
name.
a Saints Row game when they came out. It even said like, "Oh, hey," Jeff Keighley's like, "It's an organized crime game, a new upcoming organized crime game," and the stage was purple. And I'm like, "Is this just another fucking Saints Row?" And then they show off all these people, and I'm like, "Is this just another motherfucking Saints Row?" And then they're like, "Crime Boss, Rocky City." I'm like,
that's a terrible name.
What is this?
Johnny, you did also miss out that Diablo 4 will be coming to you June 6th.
I saw that in a tweet from
so you've got your phone wasn't on Do Not Disturb. You lied.
At that point.
And Johnny, you missed one more thing.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, okay. You missed two more things.
You missed out that Final Fantasy has a launch date of June 22nd.
That's so close to my birthday.
So soon. There's a lot of big games coming out, all in like the 3-4 month period. But Johnny, you did miss one small other announcement.
Yes.
There's a new From Software game.
Okay.
It's coming out next year.
Okay.
And it's called Armored Core 6.
Hell yeah.
He's already Johnny's already seen this. I can see that he's seen this.
That was rumored.
I mean, there's always been a rumor that they might be bringing back Armored Core. Like, people have talked about Armored Souls. From the trailer that they showed, it didn't really have gameplay in it. It's not something where I think we could say whether it's a traditional Armored Core game versus a Souls game versus whatever the hell else it could be. But I think that's big news. There's a lot of people out there who are excited about that. I'll tell you that it's the most excited I've been for a From Software game in decades. Just because it's got the mechs in it.
We all know I am a diehard FromSoft fan, so I will play this without question.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing more. But yeah, 2023 on that one I think was the biggest surprise to me.
Yeah.
Knowing that Elden Ring just came out.
No DLC.
So they didn't announce it exactly, but when Miyazaki went up to accept the Game of the Year award, he did say, "I look forward to continuing working on this game." So, which kind of sounded like, okay, yeah, there's going to be DLC, which would make sense. They've made DLC for lots of other
all the Souls
games at this point
have had DLC. I don't remember if Sekiro did or not.
I don't remember. It might.
I mean, they just put out that big PvP update 2 days ago. It'll get DLC like that. It was far too successful for them not to do something like that.
To Bobby's point, let's just kind of like go through anything else that really caught your eye on stuff. We don't need to be here all day.
There's a game called Meet Your Maker, Johnny, that looks really fucking cool. It is a roguelike meets crafting game where you, as the crafter, are building these dungeons that people will have multiple attempts to go through from a roguelike base. So it's like Mario Maker in a way, but you can also be playing in a very like high stylized first person shooter that you go through the dungeons on. It looks really cool. Yeah, Meet Your Mario Maker is essentially what it is. That comes out April 4th.
Okay.
Baldur's Gate, they showed off a bit more of that. We did not get a date for that, I don't believe.
That was August.
It is August.
Hades 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hades 2.
We've got
yeah.
We've got
damn,
that.
Hades is good.
There's another
Hades 2,
game.
You're going to be playing as they're calling it the princess of the underworld. We don't know if it's a daughter of Hades or if it's somebody entirely different in the mythology. Mythology is weird, and they can kind of do whatever they want with it. But yeah, new character. Lots of new characters they showed off. Looks really cool. I mean, it looks like Hades, but and then Bobby, you said they're doing a similar model where it'll come in early access and they'll play around
More
with stuff.
details. Yep.
Oh, I'll be getting that for sure. Idris
the-
Elba's coming to Cyberpunk in the
He
DLC.
is to the
He
DLC.
is. Yeah. Knuckles, the echidna himself. Is showing up.
That's
There's
what he's going for.
Yeah.
There's a game that looks really cool, I think, called Banisher's Ghost of New Eden. And this is the game from Focus as well as Don't Nod. So you might know Don't Nod from Life is Strange and Vampire, but this looks to be a really atmospheric, moody. It kind of looked like it had elements of Forspoken. It looked like it had some Ghost of Tsushima in it. And right before the trailer ends, they show a little bit of what the action looks like. And I thought for sure it would be a Souls-like based off the tone they were going for, but it appears to be way more action RPG just from the jump that the guy did. But kind of like a New World, cameras off your shoulder a little bit. It looks really cool. It's got some really good mocap stuff happening with it, and I think Don't Nod does some good shit. So that looked really cool.
There was a game in the pre-show that I thought was pretty cool called Viewfinder. It's being published by Thunderful, who also are the same publishers from the Gunk, as well as some other things. They're becoming a bigger publisher these days. But that kind of had like an unfinished swan kind of look to it. But the idea here is that you're taking photographs and you're holding them up to the world, and then those photographs kind of become reality. Yeah, there are lots of games that are kind of going with a similar aesthetic to or not aesthetic or even tonally, mechanically piece. I can think about like Manifold Garden. There's one the one game where everybody says non-Euclidean geometry, and I forgot the name of the game. I've got it on Steam somewhere, but I'm not going to look it up. Lots of games that kind of do this. Even something like Patrick's Parabox, I would say, plays in a similar, semi-similar space to this. But that I thought looked really cool, really colorful and bright too. Actually, probably the closest thing it looked like The Witness, which, yeah. And I like The Witness, despite not loving Jonathan Blow.
The one thing I want to call out too, not necessarily what was shown, but I do want to talk about what wasn't shown. And there was a couple trailers for Game Pass, but I am still like kind of processing how little Microsoft really had to show here. And
well, what do you count as Microsoft, Bobby? Because if you're not the FTC and you count Activision as part of Microsoft, then there was a decent amount shown at the Game Awards. Like a Crash Bandicoot was at the Game Awards.
It's true, but I think
there was no real Microsoft presence.
2023 is being rumored to be a pretty substantial year for them based off of all the acquisitions they've been making. And this seems like look, Microsoft's been putting their own shit on, but I was very surprised just how little directly from them we had tonight outside of
maybe they do their own thing.
I mean, at this point,
but also they were in the fucking Microsoft theater. It is kind of funny when they're sitting in the house of Phil. Phil is there at the show, and they kind of don't do anything with it. It did feel weird. It did feel weird
for sure.
Also, no Zelda. No Zelda was shown.
Nope.
Kind of weird.
We did get that Fire Emblem trailer though.
We did get a Fire Emblem trailer. Got some new stuff. They showed off the first wave of DLC that is coming day and date with the game. They also showed that there's going to be 4 waves of DLC that are all going to be releasing in 2023, which, I hope that's sooner rather than later in 2023, and we don't get an Ash and Wolves situation where I've already beaten the game and I don't want to play the game again, even though there's new stuff in it. But the DLC stuff looks good. They're bringing in the lords from the 3 houses, Edelgard, Dimitri, and Claude. And then they're also bringing in Tiki as an emblem ring as well. Tiki from Fire Emblem 1. And I mean, it is young Tiki, so it's absolutely the one from Fire Emblem 1 or Shadow Dragon. But Tiki also shows up in Awakening, much older version of Tiki. But But yeah, like there's only 12 emblem. Well, they've only shown off that there would be 12 emblem rings in the main game itself. So the idea that DLC is just going to add another 4 to that list seems kind of nuts to me. There's also some extra bonus stuff in that Wave 1 DLC that you can get as well, and then they didn't show off anything for the subsequent waves. But yeah, I'm still pretty excited about that game. I think it's got a lot of promise, and I'm ready for it.
I'm looking
Give it to me.
forward to that for sure.
Any other closing thoughts on that?
Yeah, Jedi Survivor, very excited for that. Really glad we got a date for Diablo.
Who's the person in the tank?
In the tank?
In Jedi Survivor.
in the back of the tank. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That Mario trailer, like every time Chris Pratt opens his mouth in that, I'm just like, this ain't it. I think the movie looks like it's probably going to be okay. And I'm kind of interested in the Space Marine 2 game.
Yeah. I think that would be
I'm looking through
cool.
my list here. I'm not really seeing anything else that I feel like I have to mention. I mean, it was fine. It was a video game award show. Like, it's not kind of what do you expect, but I thought they did a decent job. I think the people they brought in as some of the big gets felt fucking weird. Al Pacino coming out and going, I don't play the games. I can't read the prompter. Why am I here? And we all kind of asked the same question. Michael Madsen, at least he's there to be in a game. But dude did not seem ready to come out on stage and talk about stuff. Keegan-Michael Key seems like came out. There was some energy with it. It was like, okay, yeah, hey, that's a cool guy. Yeah, he came out to introduce the Mario trailer, obviously. And he just bombed on stage.
What do you mean?
He had you didn't see that part, did you, Bobby? You were gone? Okay. He came out and he's like, hey, so I know like everybody wonders I play Toad, and everybody wonders with Toad, is it a hat or is it his actual head? And I'm here to tell you it's a cap. Like a mushroom cap, like the cap of a mushroom. Oh, I guess cap and hat are synonyms. Oh, I guess that didn't clear anything up. I'm like, holy shit! And we were with your cousin and friend of the show, Jason, in the Discord chat as we were watching that, and I just said, bring back Pacino.
Oh God!
At this point, holy shit! It was pretty rough. And then they showed the trailer, which was whatever. Although when they showed that trailer or that clip, and not really a trailer, the Toad in there, which I imagine is the Keegan-Michael Key Toad. It feels like they pitch shifted him a little bit. It doesn't sound like Keegan-Michael Key, but it also doesn't really sound like Toad. It just sounds
putting an inflection on his voice. Yeah,
I guess so. It just sounds. I don't know. Why would you bring in Why would you bring in Keegan-Michael Key to not sound like Keegan-Michael Key? I don't know. Why would you bring in Chris Pratt to sound like Chris Pratt? I also don't know why you would do that, but. Anyway, it was fine-ish, and then a weird freak kid showed up at the end of the show and was maybe the most interesting thing that happened the whole time, and then got arrested afterward because he should not have been there doing that thing.
It's hard out there for them. Look, Game Awards, interesting, and we will certainly have our fair shake at them next week. This was fun going over that. Any other closing thoughts on it?
This has been a year, man.
Yes, it has.
I mean, I know I have not been the most positive about video games in general. I know I never am, but in this year in particular, but just generally, it's been a hell of a year. I purchased a house. I'm in it. I have a personal computer now that 2 very good friends of mine helped me build, destroyed a couple times, and then also finished at some point. Lots of change, and yet one of the things that was a constant was to be talking to both of you guys pretty much every week. sometimes twice a week, and that was cool. I'm glad we've done this show as long as we have. I hope we continue to keep doing it. I did not have to pay casual coins to say something nice to Johnny, because I was also kind of saying something nice to Bobby at the same time. So it's really only half.
Well, I'm gonna
nice
have
Johnny.
to increase the costs because of that.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Inflation,
yeah.
you know.
No butts. No butts here. No butts. I just enjoyed.
I just did it.
That
you
seems
had
that seems wrong.
500,000 casual coins.
It said I have
Well,
infinite coins.
it says the casual hour redeemed. He's in the casual hour thing and not his own.
Yeah, he's logged in as
cheating.
us.
That's cheating. You can't do that.
I don't know.
You don't have the coins for it.
The cojones.
Now you're gonna have to make it. Now you're gonna have to make it 1 million coins. You can't let that.
I
slide,
do
Bobby.
echo that completely, Chase.
God
It's
damn
been a better year for some of us when it comes to games, but it's always been fun that we've done a few things. Not to get too self-congratulatory here, but like we've increased a lot of people checking out our show, which is great. We've put ourselves out there in new ways. We've expanded to new social platforms. We're thinking about leaving another one. We've added more consistency to the type of shows. We completely revamped our deep dive format. Like we did quite a bit this year that is super cool to think about. And we continue to play. If I look back 6 years ago to the types of games I was only playing compared to the types of game I'm playing on a more regular basis now, I would say that this little theory of this show works, introducing people to new ideas, games, and experiences. And it's been fun that we've been able to do that for each other. But I've absolutely heard from people that we've met along the way this year that we've done the same thing for them. And that's what it's all about. So very cool stuff there for sure. Johnny, this is why you never get to drive the car, because you touched the wrong buttons.
Sorry.
Well, let's talk a little bit about.
Do you have anything to say for yourself, Johnny?
No, I don't.
Good.
It's
You've done
on par.
enough.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Thank
So with that, we are going to be crossing over to our actual game of the year content next week. But before we do that, our standard fare, we recorded at a weird time this week. Monday, Chase and I checked out Marvel's Midnight Suns. We have a quick look for that game as well. We have a stream for that game as well. There's a lot of ways to hear more of our thoughts if you'd like to. We've talked about this one quite a bit, and I have a feeling we'll talk about it even more next week. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We've got a quick look, multiple streams. All those fun things are up for it. As I mentioned, you got that quick look for Midnight Sun you can check out. Those are all on youtube.com/thecasualhour. If you go to this link here in chat, you can find all those fun things. Tonight, we pushed our show back. We traditionally record on Wednesday night, but we wanted to cover the Game Awards, so we did that right after it. And then tomorrow, Johnny and I are going to be checking out Chapter 4 of Fortnite and showing off that new Doom guy skin. The
Ride
Doom
some dirt
Slayer,
bikes.
ride some dirt bikes.
Unreal Engine 5.1 update.
It looks great. It looks really good. But then next week, so where you see our schedule, like our format, we'll have quick looks that go up next week as well on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But Monday night, we'll kick off day 1 of our casual categories, where we start to break down categories such as Chase.
Yeah, I can even look at some of the categories we're gonna do. Let's take a look here. We'll have things like best new character, always a classic, never an argument. Games, the best game that you can play together, the best looking game, the best style of game, like plenty of stuff for day 1. Lots of fun categories. Day 2 for
which
our
will be on Wednesday
show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Same time as we normally do the casual hour, but we'll be doing things like best moment or sequence, best debut, a game we wish we liked more, and then things like overachiever of the year. What game surprised us and really came out of nowhere or well surpassed its expectations. And then Bobby is going to tell us what the most impressive early access game is. So all fun stuff that you'll see on day 2, and then our final day 3, which will be on Friday, same time, 10:30 p.m. Central, on twitch.tv/casualhour. we will be giving our personal top 10 lists and talking somewhat briefly about each of the games that showed up on those lists and why they're there. And then we are going to do our traditional weighting system where we will assign points based on where games show up in our top 10, and we'll take a look at how that shakes out. And I always say, just as a precaution, it's a preliminary thing. We can, if we look at that list and we go, none of us feel very strongly about this game, it shouldn't be number one.
You say that every year, but you're the only one who adheres to that rule.
I just think it's important. I don't want it to be a raw math question. I think if somebody has a lot of passion and can orate some way that sways votes, I think it's welcome either way. Again, I don't think this is a year that I'm really going to argue with Game of the Year, because I don't think I have a dog in the fight that's going to be in maybe like the top 3 slots, where you guys will. And I look forward to that conversation. But I do want to say, just we'll wait it, we'll take a look at it, and then if we feel like it needs some adjustment, we have the right to adjust it if we want to, or not.
We don't have to make any lists at all.
It's true, we don't. We do it for you though, the fans, because we care.
We care about fans, not rules. Chase.
Yeah.
What have you been up to besides breaking rules?
Well, I had promised that I would be recording an episode of my other new podcast, the Pilot Program, with my good friend Pierce Corshane. That was supposed to record tonight, and it didn't. Pierce works for a company that puts on PAX, and PAX Unplugged was this last weekend, so he wanted to take a rest, and I think that was a good call. Plus, the Game Awards was tonight. I wanted to watch that in preparation for this show, so we just decided to push back that recording, and we'll record our Pilot Program episode on WWF Monday Night Raw.
Hell yeah!
Very soon. I think we rescheduled that for next week. So we'll get that recorded, and then I don't know exactly when it'll go up with holiday time happening, but we'll see if I can get that up by next weekend maybe.
Nice. So we got a big week behind us, an even bigger one next week. The one thing we did not call out, we will be off the week following Game of the Year. We're going to take a break and hang out and catch up on stuff. And then get ready for the onslaught of next year. There is already 57.
Fire Emblem.
We are close to that. I wonder if that will be the first game of 2023 that does not come with a butt. We'll find out though.
Oh, I bet it comes with a butt.
I bet it probably has the biggest butt out of anything. We will be back tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. Central to play Fortnite. Take care, everybody. Don't jump up on stage when people are giving an award.